I want to offer you something today that is going to be genuinely uncomfortable before it becomes liberating. And I need you to stay with me through the uncomfortable part. Because the liberation on the other side of this is unlike anything a softer version of this conversation could give you. Here it is. That person who drains you, the one whose name in your phone makes your body tighten before you even answer, they are not the source of the drain. Your perception of them is. You know how that lands. I know how that lands. I know the immediate resistance that arrives with it because we have spent years building a very compelling narrative about certain people and the specific effect they have on our energy. We have named them, we have categorized them: energy vampires, toxic personalities, narcissists, people who take without giving, people who dump their chaos into our carefully maintained internal order and leave us hollow. And that narrative feels true. It feels true because the drain feels real, because the exhaustion after certain conversation is measurable and specific and consistent, because you can predict with remarkable accuracy which interactions will cost you and which will not. But there is what that predictability is actually telling you. And this is the part that changes everything if you let it land. The consistency of the drain across interactions with the specific person is not evidence that they are doing something to you. It is evidence that your nervous system has built a fixed perception of them, a story, a filter through which everything they do gets processed before it ever reaches your conscious awareness. And that filter, not their behavior, is generating the drain. Let me show you the proof of this that is sitting inside your own experience right now. Think of someone who drains you consistently. Now think of a time, even one moment, when you were in an exceptionally good internal state, regulated, rested, genuinely at peace, and you encountered that same person. Was the drain identical? Was the exhaustion the same weight? Or was there something different about how the interaction landed when your internal filter was running from a different baseline? Almost every honest answer to that question is the same. The person was identical. The drain was not, because the drain was never them. In 2026, we have built an entire cultural vocabulary around the idea of external energy sources and external energy thieves. And that vocabulary feels empowering because it locates the problem out there of us. It makes the solution simple: remove the person, protect the energy, build the boundaries, stay away from the drain. But that solution has a ceiling, because you cannot remove every person whose behavior your nervous system has learned to process as threatening. And more important, the filter that generated the drain around that person will simply find a new person to apply itself to. Because the filter is the issue, not the cast of characters it runs its story on. And this is one of the most sovereign reframes available to a human being in the current moment, because it moves the locus of the problem and therefore the locus of the solution completely back inside you, where you actually have access to it. I see this pattern in the data of this channel with completely clarity. 178 subscribers, 82,000 views on YouTube, 190,000 on TikTok, 24 people who took the first step toward examining their own filter, one committed to the complete recalibration. The people in the gap who aren't choosing the drain consciously. They are choosing the narrative that locates the drain outside themselves, because that narrative is more immediately comfortable than the alternative. The alternative being, if the drain is in my perception, then I'm responsible for the drain. And responsibility for the drain means I have to look at the filter. And looking at the filter means looking at everything the filter was building to protect me from seeing. That is the real work. Not boundary scripts, not blocking numbers, not strategies for managing difficult people. The examination of the perception that turned them into a difficult person in your specific nervous system in the first place. What were they doing that your filter decided was dangerous? What did their behavior remind your system of? What older, more foundational story did this person's specific way of existing activate inside you? Those questions are not comfortable, but they are the only questions that actually end the drain permanently. Because when you understand what the filter is protecting you from, you can update the filter, and when the filter updates, the drain changes. Not because the person changed, because the story your nervous system runs about them changed. The mirror practice was built for exactly this examination. Not to make you more tolerant of difficult people, not to teach you how to manage your reactions better, to give your direct access to the perception layer, the filter, where the drain is actually being generated, so that you can see it clearly enough to choose whether it still serves you. 24 people are already inside that examination. One has completed it. The reset is free. 1 minute of direct contact with your own filter. The full mirror practice is 19 euro. It is the complete architecture for examining and updating the perceptions that have been draining you without your conscious permission. The other person was never the source, soul. The source was always the story, and the story was always yours to rewrite. Drop filter in the comments if this landed somewhere real. I am Tudor. I examined the filter. I'll see you